Imagine this right now. At this exact moment, there is a man thinking deeply about you. He cannot push your face out of his mind. Your name rises in his thoughts many times throughout the day. Even when he tries to suppress it, or maybe when he cannot even admit it to himself, his body language, his small gestures, and the way his energy shifts have already exposed the truth. He is completely in love with you, yet you have not fully realized it. Why is that? Because all your life you have been taught to look for words, promises, and clear declarations. But the truth is, real masculine desire lives inside a quiet code. A language so subtle and hidden that almost 97% of women never learn how to read it. What I am about to share will change how you see relationships and how you understand the male mind, especially the blind spot between words and unconscious signals. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychologists to ever live, discovered something extraordinary about the male psyche, something most women will never be told. When a man truly loves a woman, his unconscious mind enters a state he cannot fully control. In that state, his body and behavior begin to express involuntary signals that are nearly impossible to fake. The tragedy is that most women misunderstand these signals completely. Many mistake real emotional interest for temporary games. Or worse, they overlook men who are deeply in love simply because they do not understand this hidden language of male desire. Have you ever felt that strange inner knowing? That feeling that something does not align when a man says he is interested, but his actions seem to tell a different story, or even the opposite? Maybe he never speaks clearly about his emotions. Yet something inside you senses a deep bond. That feeling is not random. It is not your imagination. It is your unconscious mind detecting signals your conscious mind has not yet learned how to interpret. This is not about seduction tricks or manipulation. It goes much deeper than that. What I am sharing is not a technique. It is the truth of what happens inside a man when he meets a woman who awakens not only physical attraction, but also an emotional connection that goes beyond logic. There is a pattern, a silent language expressed through a man's gestures, eye contact, pauses, presence, and behavior when he is truly emotionally invested. Once you learn how to read these signs, confusion fades away. You will no longer wonder where you stand or question his intentions. The problem is that most women search in the wrong places. They wait for dramatic confessions when they should be observing the smallest details that reveal everything. Jung spoke about the lover archetype. He discovered that inside every man exists this powerful inner force, and when it is activated, it transforms his behavior in ways even he may not understand. This is not something he can pretend or consciously create. It is an instinctive response rooted in the deepest layers of the male unconscious. What you are about to understand may change how you view the men around you. It will bring clarity to feelings you may have sensed intuitively but never fully explained. These signs are quiet, yet undeniable. A man may try to deny them, hide them, or explain them away, but his body and his actions will always speak the truth. There is a huge difference between physical attraction and emotional investment. A man driven only by desire pulls away when challenges appear. A man who is emotionally involved becomes more present during difficult moments. One creates uncertainty and emotional tension. The other builds a sense of safety and consistency. One lives only in the present moment. The other already imagines you in his future, even if he has not spoken the words out loud. Before I continue with the insight that can permanently shift how you see men and relationships, pause for a moment. I want you to do something simple. Comment the word perception below. This is not just interaction. When you write this word, your mind begins to open itself to the information that follows. It acts like a mental switch, preparing you to absorb these ideas on a deeper level. Have you ever noticed how some women seem to attract commitment effortlessly, while others remain stuck in cycles of shallow connections? The reason has little to do with looks or rehearsed words. It lies in something far deeper. It is their ability to recognize and respond to unconscious signals a man gives when he is emotionally involved. Jung spent decades studying the human psyche and found that male behavior is driven by forces far beyond conscious choice. He called these forces archetypes, inherited patterns that shape how we feel, think, and act. One of the most powerful of these is the lover archetype. When it awakens inside a man, something remarkable occurs. He is no longer just interested. He is emotionally connected in a way that transcends logic. Something ancient stirs within him, silently reshaping his behavior without him fully realizing it. Modern society has taught men from a very young age to suppress their emotions. They hear messages like, "Be strong," "Do not cry," and "Never show weakness." Over time, this creates a divide between what a man feels and what he can express verbally. That is why many men struggle to put their feelings into words, even when they are deeply in love. But the body does not follow these rules. The body always tells the truth. Jung observed that while words can be filtered and controlled, unconscious behavior cannot. The unconscious mind expresses itself through posture, attention, consistency, and presence. These signals form a silent language that very few women are taught to read correctly. Think about a man who sends mixed signals. Maybe he says he cares but disappears for days. Or maybe he rarely talks about feelings but consistently shows up when you need him. Which one is truly emotionally invested? Words can mislead, but behavior never lies. Neuroscience later supported what Jung sensed intuitively. When a man is genuinely in love, his brain releases specific chemicals like dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. These chemicals influence his actions in ways he cannot consciously manage. Dopamine creates a sense of reward, making your presence feel deeply satisfying to him. His mind begins to associate you with pleasure and emotional comfort, naturally pulling him closer to you. Oxytocin, often called the bonding hormone, is released through emotional closeness and intimacy. It forms a deep biological bond, creating a natural desire to protect, nurture, and stay connected. This is why a man who is truly involved often becomes protective without being asked. It is not strategy, it is biology responding to emotional attachment. When women try to understand a man's feelings, they often focus on his words. But Jung taught us that words reveal very little. The depth of a man's love lives beneath the surface, communicated through a quiet language of actions, consistency, and unconscious signals. Because men are taught to hide vulnerability, this language becomes even more important. The lover archetype within a man is not about lust alone. It is about emotional closeness, devotion, and a connection that reaches something ancient within his psyche. When this archetype is activated, a man does not just desire a woman physically. He wants to be near her, to include her in his world, to protect her peace, and to feel emotionally close. Even if he never says it directly, his behavior begins to reorganize around her presence. His time, his focus, and his energy naturally start to shift. When a man's lover archetype is fully awakened, he does not simply want the woman's body. He wants her presence, her safety, and her emotional well-being. Every man carries within him a natural desire to discover a woman who feels meaningful enough to become part of his inner world and his future. He wants to remain close to her, understand her deeply, and slowly make her an important part of his everyday life. Yet, modern society often makes this natural journey much more difficult than it needs to be. Many men struggle to express these emotions openly. A man may love someone deeply and still find it difficult to explain his feelings with words. Instead of speaking directly, his emotions often appear through quiet and unconscious behaviors. The way he looks at her when he believes no one is paying attention, how he changes his schedule to spend more time with her, and the small, almost invisible actions that reveal his emotional presence all become silent expressions of what he feels. Learning to understand this quiet language can completely change the way a woman sees relationships. It helps her look beyond appearances and recognize when a man is truly emotionally invested, instead of confusing temporary attention or emotional games with genuine connection. Scientific research also supports many of Carl Jung's observations. Neuroscience shows that when a man falls deeply in love, his brain chemistry changes in remarkable ways. A powerful combination of neurotransmitters begins flowing through his body, including dopamine, serotonin, and oxytocin. Dopamine creates strong feelings of pleasure and reward, causing his brain to associate your presence with happiness and excitement. This helps explain why a man who is emotionally connected feels a powerful desire to be close to you as often as possible. The feeling can become almost addictive, not because he chooses it, but because of how his brain naturally responds. Oxytocin, commonly known as the bonding hormone, is released during moments of emotional closeness and physical intimacy. It strengthens his desire to protect, care for, and remain connected with the woman he loves. Serotonin helps stabilize his emotions and social behavior, creating feelings of calmness, trust, and emotional security that continue to strengthen the relationship over time. Because these biological changes happen below conscious awareness, a man's behavior often shifts in ways that are difficult for him to control or hide. His eyes, posture, tone of voice, and subtle body movements quietly reveal the depth of his emotional commitment. Even if he struggles to express his feelings with words, these silent signals often tell the real story. At the same time, it is important to recognize the difference between physical attraction and emotional involvement. Physical attraction usually appears quickly and is driven by appearance, chemistry, and desire. It can feel exciting, passionate, and intense, but it is often temporary. A man may feel physically attracted to more than one woman at the same time. This kind of attraction remains mostly on the surface and does not always create lasting emotional stability. Emotional involvement, however, develops slowly over time. It grows as a man gradually welcomes a woman into his inner emotional world. Once the lover archetype becomes active, his attention naturally becomes more focused. She begins to represent comfort, purpose, emotional peace, and even a vision of the future. Confusion often appears because some men speak with great interest, but behave in inconsistent ways. Others may rarely talk about their feelings, yet consistently show deep care, loyalty, and emotional attachment through their actions. Learning to recognize the signs of genuine emotional involvement instead of shallow attraction can save a woman from unnecessary confusion, emotional pain, and wasted time. Jung also introduced the idea of synchronicity, meaningful coincidences that seem deeply significant, even though they have no obvious explanation. When a man is genuinely emotionally connected to a woman, these meaningful coincidences often begin to appear naturally. He may think about her moments before she contacts him. They may unexpectedly discover similar experiences, shared memories, or surprising similarities in their lives. Sometimes even dreams, thoughts, or perfect timing seem to connect in unusual ways. These experiences are not simply random events. They can reflect an unconscious connection between two inner worlds. Many women overlook these quiet signs because they focus mainly on spoken promises or dramatic displays of affection. Yet synchronicity can be one of the strongest indicators that a man's unconscious mind has formed a genuine emotional connection. The real problem begins when these signals are misunderstood. Many women mistake charm, attention, or temporary excitement for lasting love. Others ignore the quiet consistency, body language, and dependable presence that reveal true emotional commitment. This misunderstanding often leads to disappointment, confusion, and relationships that drain emotional energy instead of bringing peace and fulfillment. Women are often taught to listen carefully to words, while the deepest truth frequently exists in silence, in the eyes, and in the steady way a man continues to show up without feeling the need to constantly explain himself. By learning this silent language of male desire, women gain greater clarity. They become more capable of recognizing authentic feelings and making choices that protect their emotional well-being. Understanding this hidden language requires awareness, patience, and intuition. It means noticing the way a man looks at you, especially when he believes your attention is elsewhere. It means observing how he arranges his schedule and personal space to include you. It means paying attention to whether he remembers the small details about your life that others usually forget. It also means recognizing when he begins sharing his fears, insecurities, and personal struggles because he feels emotionally safe with you. It also includes noticing whether he naturally introduces you to the important people in his life and welcomes you into his daily routines. Listen carefully to the way he talks about the future and whether you naturally appear within those plans. Most importantly, observe the consistency of his care over time. Every one of these signs becomes part of a much larger picture that reveals whether his emotional involvement is genuine. If understanding the lover archetype and the silent language of male desire is important, the next question naturally becomes how a woman can encourage this deeper emotional connection. The answer lies in embracing feminine energy, not as a stereotype, but as a genuine source of strength and authenticity. When a woman lives in harmony with her natural feminine qualities, she often activates unconscious emotional processes within a man that awaken his lover archetype and strengthen emotional intimacy. Feminine energy is frequently misunderstood. It is not weakness, silence, or submission. Instead, it is an energy rooted in receptivity, emotional depth, presence, intuition, compassion, and creative expression. This energy naturally complements masculine qualities, which are often centered on action, direction, problem-solving, and logic. Within a healthy relationship, feminine energy encourages a man to relax, lower his emotional defenses, and connect with his deeper feelings. It creates an atmosphere where vulnerability feels safe, allowing the lover archetype to continue growing. Presence matters far more than pursuit. Feminine energy does not chase or pressure a man into developing emotions. Instead, it remains fully present, emotionally grounded, and authentic. This quiet presence creates a natural sense of attraction. When a woman is emotionally available and centered within herself, she radiates confidence without force and gentleness without weakness. This balance speaks directly to a man's unconscious mind, communicating emotional safety, trust, and openness. Authentic vulnerability also plays a powerful role. When a woman allows herself to be genuine by sharing her fears, dreams, hopes, and imperfections, she silently gives a man permission to do the same. This shared openness creates deeper trust and emotional intimacy. A man's lover archetype becomes stronger when he feels free to be honest without worrying about criticism, rejection, or judgment. Emotional attunement strengthens this connection even further. Feminine energy listens with care, feels with empathy, and responds with understanding. A woman who stays connected to her own emotions while remaining attentive to his creates a meaningful emotional exchange that allows love to deepen naturally over time.